Chapter 43-56. A perfect divine art, I don't think I've seen it before. Mu Qing muttered. There are countless divine arts in the world. It's normal that you haven't seen it before. But this kid's divine art has surpassed the boundary of a perfect divine art. It's almost half a step into the level of a heaven-defying divine art. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 99 golden dragons and smiled faintly. Now, it was too easy for him to tell the grade of the deity incantation. He could tell at a glance. Roar! The dragon roared. The killing array formed by the 99 golden dragons flooded the sky and blasted towards the two perfect divine arts of the young man. Accompanied by a deafening loud noise, the two perfect divine arts collapsed on the spot. The golden dragon killing array arrived in front of the young man. The young man's eyes were full of anger and despair. But suddenly, the killing array stopped half a meter away from the young man. The young man was so scared that he peed his pants on the spot. I told you to take a rest first, but you didn't believe me. Qin Yi sighed. With a wave of his hand, the golden dragon killing array dissipated. This kid is very benevolent. He didn't kill the other party, but his attitude is really asking for a beating, just like you. Mu Qing transmitted her voice. Just say it, don't drag everything to me. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He was very satisfied with Qin Yi's performance. Because at least he didn't bully the weak. Next. Qin Yi looked at the people in the sky above the major islands with a listless look. He seemed to be very uninterested. However, at this moment, a sense of crisis swept over. The young man who was paralyzed in the void suddenly had a trace of resentment in his eyes. He took out a divine artifact and rushed towards Qin Yi. This was a supreme-grade divine artifact, and its sharpness swept across the sky. Sneak attack? Qin Yi's eyebrows suddenly raised, turned around and directly punched out. Immediately. Under the shocked gaze of countless disciples, Qin Yi only relied on one fist to smash the supreme-grade divine artifact in the young man's hand. How strong is his physical body and strength? He shattered a supreme-grade divine artifact with a single punch. I think the strength of his physical body has already surpassed the level of supreme-grade divine artifacts. Everyone was dumbfounded. The young man standing opposite Qin Yi was also dumbfounded. Immediately, he began to tremble. Shattering a supreme-grade divine artifact with his bare hands, this fleshly body was too strong. Was this the strength of this little freak? Qin Li and the others had always kept a low profile in the human emperor's palace. Therefore, apart from the upper echelons of the human emperor's palace, the disciples below did not know much about their strength. Therefore, at this moment, they were deeply shocked by the strength that Qin Yi had displayed. Whoosh! Qin Yi took a step forward and landed in front of the young man. He grabbed the young man's neck and hung him up in the air like a little chick. Do you really think I don't have a temper? Tell me, I've been giving in to you before. I didn't want to make things too ugly for you. His 5 fingers continued to exert force. The young man's face was flushed red as he struggled continuously. He was on the verge of suffocating. You can't kill people. Qin Li, who was watching the battle, coldly snorted. Tisk. Qin Yi glared at Qin Li with dissatisfaction, but he also loosened his hand and threw the young man out of the enchantment. He seemed to be rather fearful of Qin Li. But that was true. With Qin Li's fierce eyes, who wouldn't be afraid? Moreover, they were brothers who grew up together. Qin Yi knew Qin Li's character better than anyone else. I'll challenge you. A disciple of the 9th heaven state suddenly stood up and rushed into the enchantment like lightning. 9th heaven state minor completion? Looks like I'll have to give you 3 moves. Qin Yi sized up the disciple. Don't be arrogant. The disciple of the ninth heaven state minor completion laughed angrily and activated an auxiliary divine art. Like a ghost, he appeared behind Qin Yi in an instant and threw a punch at Qin Yi's head from an extremely difficult angle. That's it? Qin Yi laughed and also activated an auxiliary divine art and dodged like lightning. His speed was even faster than the disciples. This is a perfect auxiliary divine art. Lord Supreme Cloud, Lord Beast, this disciple is not convinced. Why did you give him so many powerful divine arts? The disciple immediately looked up at Supreme Cloud and the Beast Lord and shouted angrily. The Beast Lord and the Beast Lord looked at each other with an innocent expression. Whether it was Qin Yi or Qin Li and the others, they had all helped him in private. In fact, no one would believe it if they said it out loud. The divine arts that these brothers and sisters had mastered were all comprehended by themselves. Don't talk nonsense. This is my own comprehension. Qin Yi frowned. He hated it when people said that he relied on his connections. What? Your own comprehension? Not only the disciples standing opposite Qin Yi, but even the disciples in the air above the islands were in disbelief. No way. He's that strong? Even Mu Qing was shocked. I also can't believe it. Qin Feiyang shook his head. If Qin Yi had really comprehended all of these divine arts, then it was indeed shocking. Because even he couldn't do this back then. Although he had also comprehended divine arts and raised the level of his divine arts, most of them, such as the Divine Dragon Island's Fire Phoenix art, were passed down from generation to generation. I knew that no one would believe me even if I said it. But this is the truth. Qin Yi took a step forward and used a perfect auxiliary divine art to increase his speed to the extreme. Then wouldn't the power of our bloodline be exposed? Qin Yi looked at Qin Li unhappily. When Qin Li heard this, a smile appeared on his indifferent face, but he quickly covered it up. He glanced at his 6 brothers and sisters and asked, "Do you want the reward for first place?" "Whatever." Qin Xian shrugged, as if he wasn't interested at all. Qin Li's face darkened. No matter what, this kid always had an indifferent attitude. He said angrily, "You go and get the first 100 matches in a row." Huh? Qin Xian was stunned and frowned. Why me? Didn't you say anything? Anything is fine. Don't talk nonsense. Go. Qin Li kicked out with a lot of force. Qin Xian immediately staggered and ran out. Bastard, what kind of man is a sneak attack from behind? Qin Xian turned his head and glared at Qin Li. To this, Qin Li was expressionless. I'll settle the score with you later. Qin Xian glared at him fiercely, then activated teleportation and stepped into the barrier. He looked at Wang Xiyu and said, "A genius ranked in the top 100 actually came to bully a half-step 9th heaven realm person. You're really impressive. Come on, don't waste my time. I hope you can continue to be so arrogant later." Wang Xiyu chuckled. Shua. In an instant, he disappeared from Qin Xian's sight. The best auxiliary divine art. You dare to take this out and embarrass yourself? Qin Xian's face was full of disdain. As he stepped out, he also disappeared from Wang Xiyu's sight. This speed was many times faster than Wang Xiyu. Pa! Soon. The crisp sound of a slap was heard. Wang Xiyu flew out on the spot, and there was an eye-catching palm print on his face. Wisps of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. How is this possible? It's actually a heaven-defying auxiliary divine art. This scene shocked everyone present. Wang Xiyu also stared at Qin Xian angrily. With this strength, you can be ranked in the top 100? With this, you dare to come to my brother? Don't you know that I'm a protective person? Killing intent surged in Qin Xian's eyes. He stepped on the heaven-defying auxiliary divine art and beat Wang Xiyu violently. In just a short while. Wang Shiyu was beaten black and blue. His face was swollen like a pig's head. His body was dripping with blood and he was in an extremely sorry state. Chapter 43-57. So powerful. I didn't expect Qin Xian's strength to be so powerful. Even Wang Shiyu can't fight back in front of him. He's really a low-profile person. Everyone's heart was in turmoil. A genius disciple in the top 100 was beaten to such a state. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would dare to believe it? Mu Qing said telepathically, "Old Qin," looking at them, "do you feel like the student has surpassed the master?" Yes. Qin Feiyang didn't deny it. These brothers and sisters were indeed stronger than he was back then. Of course. It was not without reason that they were so strong now. This was because the Dragon God Palace back then, whether it was the cultivation environment or various resources, could not be compared to the current human Emperor Palace. Ah! There was a painful scream. Wang Shiyu was kicked out of the spirit barrier by Qin Xian and rolled miserably in the void. Since I've already made my move, then I'll be arrogant for a while. Other than the top 100 geniuses, don't join in the fun. Qin Xian looked at the people standing above the 10th island and waved his hand. All of you can come one by one. The 10th island used to be a medicine field and resource reserve in the Dragon God Palace. But now, as the number of disciples in the human Emperor Palace increased, the 10th island had become the residence of the disciples. However, it was not easy to enter the 10th island. One must have extraordinary talent and strength. In other words, all the disciples on the 10th island were the future pillars of the human Emperor Palace. At this very moment, Qin Xian wanted to challenge the elite of the elites on the 10th island, which was the so-called top 100 disciples. Qin Xian, heaven-defying auxiliary divine technique, let me have a taste of it. Bang! A monstrous aura erupted. A purple-robed youth charged out and activated his divine technique. His divine aura shook the surroundings. Heaven-defying divine technique. He's Li Tianxing. He's a peak 9 heavens realm genius disciple ranked 79th. Just like the rumors said, he has mastered a heaven-defying divine technique. Everyone whispered. However, Qin Xian had a look of disdain. Streaks of blood light emerged from his body and turned into a ferocious blood dragon that circled around him. The dragon's aura and murderous aura surged. This aura, it's actually a heaven-defying deity art. The disciples in the human Emperor Palace looked at the blood dragon bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws in disbelief. He had mastered 2 heaven-defying divine arts. Among them, there was even a heaven-defying deity art. Who could beat them? Boom! After a few rounds, Li Tianxing spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the battlefield in a sorry state. Next. In less than an hour, Qin Xian easily obtained 100 consecutive victories. There was simply no match for him. I'll go. With such strength, he's still staying on the first island? Isn't he pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger? Everyone was very dissatisfied. Not bad. Although Qin Li and the others were standing behind Wang Yu, now, they were actually living on the first island. The overall strength of the first island was the weakest among all the major islands in the human Emperor Palace. Although there were rumors that they were all monstrous geniuses, rumors were only rumors. He had never seen them with his own eyes. Looking at it now, it was truly astonishing. I don't know. We're keeping a low profile. Qin Xian grinned and looked at the geniuses on the 10th island. Sorry, I accidentally revealed my strength. Next time, I'll remember to preserve my strength. The geniuses who had been defeated had unpleasant looks on their faces. All hail Brother Xian! A loud shout could be heard. Qin Xian turned his head toward the first island and saw a young man waving at him. His face darkened as he said furiously, "Impudent! Call me uncle. Piss off. The young man's face darkened. This voice, Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing exchanged glances. Why did it sound so familiar? They turned their heads to look, and a trace of astonishment crept up their faces. Why was it this kid? It was the narcissistic young man they had met in the Holy Dragon City, who gave them a strange sense of familiarity. He knows Qin Xian. Qin Xian, and he's calling him uncle? Is he really the descendant of one of our old friends? Mu Qing frowned. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and turned to Sheng Wanqiu and Miss Sky Fairy, asking, "Who's that kid?" The two of them looked over. Miss Sky Fairy shook her head with a smile and was about to speak. However, Sheng Wanqiu suddenly stopped her and said to Qin Feiyang, "Guess." Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. "If I could guess, why would I ask you?" Miss Sky Fairy looked at Sheng Wanqiu suspiciously. Mu Qing turned to Miss Sky Fairy and said helplessly, "Don't tell me you don't know him. He called you aunt. It's none of your business." Miss Sky Fairy harumphed. At this moment, the young man also noticed Qin Feiyang and the other three sitting on the stone platform at the exit. What's going on? Why are Auntie and Auntie sitting with them? They don't seem to be disciples of the human Emperor Palace. The young man mumbled and flew toward the stone platform. At the same time, Qin Xian also left the barrier and landed beside Qin Li. He said unhappily, "Are you satisfied now? You're obviously stronger than me, but you don't want to go up and let me take the limelight. You have a problem with that?" Qin Li raised his eyebrows. If you weren't my brother, I would really beat you up." Qin Xian roared angrily. "Brother Xian, can you beat Brother Li?" Qin Yi's unexpected question made Qin Xian feel discouraged. Although this bastard was overbearing and ruthless, he was really strong. The young man landed on the stone platform and ran to Sheng Wanqiu and Miss Sky Fairy with a smile, saying, "When did you come? And why are you with them? You know them?" Miss Sky Fairy was suspicious. "I met them in the Holy Dragon City not long ago." The young man nodded and whispered in Miss Sky Fairy's ear, "Aunt, let me tell you, they don't look like good people. You have to be careful." "I think so too." Miss Sky Fairy nodded. Mu Qing looked at the two speechlessly and said unhappily, "Can't you talk in secret and pretend that we don't exist? You can hear it in such a low voice." The young man looked at Mu Qing in surprise. Mu Qing rolled her eyes. Qin Feiyang glanced at the young man. The more he looked at him, the more familiar he was. However, Sheng Wanqiu was obviously trying to keep him in suspense. He was really helpless. He looked at Qin Li and the others again. Although Qin Li, Qin Yun, Qin Wan, Qin Ji, and Qin Yi did not go up, it was not difficult to see that the strength of Qin Li and the other four was definitely extraordinary from Qin Yi and Qin Xian's performance. Immediately, he smiled slightly, got up and looked at Mu Qing. "It's about time, let's go." "You're leaving?" Mu Qing was stunned. "What's so interesting about this kind of little game?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "What? The battle between the genius disciples of the human Emperor Palace is just a little game? This guy is too arrogant." The young man looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. "You don't look like a big shot. Aren't you afraid of being beaten up by such arrogance? Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand." Sheng Wanqiu glared at the young man and got up as well. The young man scratched his head and looked at Miss Fairy. What was going on? Miss Fairy also had a bitter smile. She could not understand Sheng Wanqiu's current behavior. Who injured our disciple? But at this moment, this was accompanied by a ruthless shout. A small figure flashed in from the entrance like lightning and swept over the heads of Qin Feiyang and the others, going straight to Supreme Cloud and the beast race in the sky. Qin Feiyang looked at the back of this person and felt that it was somewhat familiar. This person was only about half a meter tall and looked to be about 5 or 6 years old. He was wearing a red dudu with a ringing bell hanging around his neck. He looked pink and chubby, like an auspicious doll. However, his body exuded an extremely shocking and ruthless aura. Little demon boy. Shangguan Qiu transmitted his voice. Little demon boy? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He tried to recall for a moment and suddenly understood. He said with a smile, "So it's him." Back then, in order to deal with the dragons, he joined forces with several half-step immortal realm experts. These people were the straw-shoe old man, the green-robed old woman, the burly man, the middle-aged couple, and the little demon boy now. He remembered that they had formed an alliance in the divine demon forest in the Nether King's Hell. Although he was familiar with them and had fought side by side, he still did not know their names. However, he had always been grateful to them. If it were not for their help, it would not have been so easy to defeat the dragons. He did not expect to meet this guy again. He also had a deep impression of the little demon boy. Although the little demon boy looked like a child, the straw-shoe old man and the others were very afraid of him back then. It seems that there is trouble again. Shangguan Qiu shook his head and sighed. Trouble? Qin Feiyang was stunned and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. He turned to look at Shangguan Qiu and found that Shangguan Qiu seemed to be looking at the little demon boy with some disgust. What was going on? The little demon boy was a comrade who had fought side by side. Why did he have such an attitude? Qin Feiyang looked at Miss Fairy again and found that Miss Fairy looked at the little demon boy the same way. Although you fought side by side to destroy the dragons back then, it was also because of this that the little demon boy became arrogant and did not take anyone seriously. He did not even show the slightest respect to Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast. But in the past, Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast were stronger than him, so he still had some concerns. But half a year ago, the little demon boy's cultivation had also broken through to the imperishable realm, which was on par with Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast, so he became even more unscrupulous. Shangguan Qiu sighed. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang could not help but frown. As for old Master Yizhong, you know his character as well. He values relationships and is generous and benevolent. As long as you don't cause too much trouble, he won't get involved. So, without old Master Yizhong's restraint, Supreme Beast and Supreme Cloud can't do anything to him. Now, he is basically lawless in the ancient world. Shangguan Qiu transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang looked up at the little demon boy, frowning. He did not expect the little demon boy to become like this. He was disappointed, but not too disappointed. Because he did not have much interaction with the little demon boy at all. He did not even know much about the little demon boy's character. He only knew that he was a violent person. Perhaps, the little demon boy was such a person. In other words, this was his nature. However, the little demon boy's behavior made him feel a little uncomfortable. It was understandable that he was arrogant. After all, not everyone had the same character as Yizhong. But shouldn't there be a limit to taking credit and being arrogant? Chapter 43-58. In the sky. The little demon child stood opposite Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast, looking aggressive. Little demon child, what are you doing here? Supreme Cloud frowned. Didn't I say it very clearly just now? My disciple was bullied, so I came to you for an explanation. The little demon child said angrily. Disciple? Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast looked at each other and said suspiciously, what disciple are you talking about? Why don't we know that you have a disciple? Do I need to report to you what I do? The little demon child sneered. No. You must make it clear. How do you want us to give you an explanation if you don't know? A trace of anger crept up Supreme Cloud's eyebrows. Everyone is so familiar with each other. Why don't Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast know who the little demon child's disciple is? Mu Qing was puzzled. Not to mention Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast, even we don't know. Shangguan Xiao and Miss Fairy shook their heads. The young man standing next to the two was also puzzled. Never heard of it. Who was the little demon child's disciple? Master. Suddenly, a voice sounded. A blood-stained young man rushed to the little demon child's side like lightning. This person was Wang Xiyu. Previously, he wanted to bully Qin Yi with his 9th Heaven Realm cultivation base, but he was beaten up by Qin Xian. It's him? Shangguan Xiao and Miss Fairy were stunned. How is it possible? He is the little demon child's disciple? What's going on? I've never heard of it before. Everyone at the scene was stunned. Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast were the same. Looking at Wang Xiyu standing next to the little demon child, their faces were full of surprise. The little demon child looked at Wang Xiyu and said, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I almost lost half of my life." Wang Xiyu looked aggrieved. A cold light flashed in the little demon child's eyes. He took out a healing pill and handed it to Wang Xiyu. "Thank you, Master." Wang Xiyu took the healing pill and felt the countless incredulous eyes around him. His face was full of pride. "You didn't expect it, did you? My master is the famous little demon child." "It's not good," Qin Yun whispered. "I didn't expect Wang Xiyu to be his disciple. You guys go first, I'll take care of it." Wang Yuer transmitted her voice to Qin Li and the others with a grave expression. "No. We can't implicate you." Qin Li shook his head. "That's right. I'm responsible for my own actions. I beat up Wang Xiyu. If this little demon child has any dissatisfaction, he can come at me." Qin Xian nodded. "Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. If he knows your identities, then that's fine, because they will definitely give your big brother some face. But now, he doesn't know. You've been in the ancient realm for so many years. You should know what he's capable of. Those who offend him will not have a good ending." Wang Yuer thought to herself. But, Qin Li frowned. Wang Yuer said angrily, "But what? A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Let's go." "All right." Qin Li nodded. But at this moment, Wang Xiyu suddenly pointed at Qin Xian and said resentfully, "Master, it's him." The little demon child immediately looked at Qin Xian. Wang Yuer's expression changed. She took a step forward and shouted without looking back, "Let's go." Qin Li waved his hand, rolled up his brothers and sisters, and turned to leave. "Wang Yuer, do you want to protect them?" Killing intent surged in the little demon child's eyes. "Little demon child, I advise you not to kill them. Besides, this is just a competition between disciples. Now you're here to bully the weak. Don't you think it's beneath your status as the little demon child?" Wang Yuer was not to be outdone. Her eyes flashed with cold light. "What a sharp tongue. Do you think I'm afraid of you because you're related to Qin Feiyang?" The little demon child was furious. His terrifying aura turned into an invisible torrent, and instantly blasted toward Wang Yuer. Puff! Wang Yuer spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. Her face was pale. "Sister Yuer." Qin Li and the others, who had escaped, immediately returned to Wang Yuer's side. Their faces were full of concern and anger. "Little demon child, don't go too far." Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast also stepped out and stood in front of Wang Yuer and Qin Li, glaring at the little demon child. The little demon child looked at Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast and said, "Are you determined to protect them?" There are winners and losers in the competition. Now your disciple is not as good as others. Who can you blame? If you don't want him to get hurt, don't let him participate in the competition. Supreme Cloud said in a low voice. You know this is a competition. Shouldn't a competition stop when it's over? Why did you beat him up like this? The little demon child shouted. Qin Li stared at the little demon child and said in a low voice, Didn't Wang Xiyu think about this when he was about to bully my brother? He's at the peak of the ninth heaven's realm. How could he have the nerve to challenge a half-step ninth heaven's realm? That's right. You should go and teach your disciple a lesson instead of finding trouble with us, Yi Zichen said. Qin Ji, who was a man of few words, also spoke, with a cold light in his eyes. But is your brother injured? The little demon child asked. Qin Li said, That's because my brother admitted defeat. Admitted defeat? He can do such a thing without dignity. It can be seen that he's not a talent. The little demon child sneered. What did you say? Qin Yi glared at the little demon child. Did I say anything wrong? Only a good-for-nothing can surrender without a fight. The little demon child sneered. Qin Yi was so angry that he laughed and said, Yes, 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 I'm a good-for-nothing, but what about your disciple? He has dignity. He was beaten up because of his lack of strength, and now you come to seek justice for him. Is this the so-called dignity? I'm afraid he's more embarrassed than me now. How dare you humiliate me? Wang Shiyu's face was ferocious, and he roared, Master, he doesn't take you seriously at all. Kill him. The little demon child stared at Qin Yi, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Supreme Cloud glanced at Qin Feiyang sitting on the stone platform, and then looked at the little demon child and said, As an old friend, I kindly advise you not to make trouble here. Are you threatening me? The little demon child stared at Supreme Cloud. No. I'm advising you out of kindness. If you don't want to listen, then pretend I didn't say anything. And, if you really want to kill them, I won't stop you. Do as you please. Supreme Cloud said and retreated to the side. The corners of Supreme Beast's mouth lifted slightly, and he also retreated to the side. He looked at Wang Yuer and said, Yuer, you step back. Huh? Wang Yuer looked at Supreme Beast in a daze. What did he mean? The little demon child didn't know the identity of Qin Li and the others, but Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast both knew. Logically speaking, shouldn't they protect them with all their strength? Why didn't they care now? Trust us. Supreme Cloud smiled secretly. Hearing this, Wang Yuer was even more puzzled, but looking at the confident two, she finally retreated to the side nervously. The unusual behavior of Supreme Cloud, Supreme Beast, and Wang Yuer made the little demon child quite confused for a moment. What did they mean? Did they really think he wouldn't dare to do it? Boom! His aura roared out. He swept in front of Qin Yi, raised his hand, and slapped Qin Yi's head. This is the price of provoking me. Die! Wang Xiyu laughed sinisterly. But it was also at this moment. Qin Feiyang, who was sitting on the platform, suddenly got up, and as he took a step forward, activated the moment of time, and instantly landed in front of Qin Yi. So fast. Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast had been paying attention to Qin Feiyang. Therefore, they had seen the whole process with their eyes. This speed was simply too fast for them to catch up. Who is it? At the same time, the others also saw Qin Feiyang, and a trace of surprise crept up on their faces. The little demon child's face also changed slightly, but seeing that Qin Feiyang's face was unfamiliar, and the aura he exuded was not strong, he couldn't help but sneer. He really didn't know what was good for him. Following closely. The palm that was aimed at Qin Yi was aimed at Qin Feiyang. Qin Li and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang's back in surprise. Who was this person? He was not afraid of the little demon child to protect them. The next moment, an amazing scene appeared. Chapter 43-59. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Qin Feiyang took the facial restoration pill. At that moment, his face began to change. It seems familiar. It's getting more and more familiar. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang's face change in surprise. Finally, a face that made countless people crazy was clearly presented in front of them. You are. The little demon child looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. Must be dreaming? How could it be this person? Wang Xiu, who was behind him, also rubbed his eyes hard. It's him. Qin Feiyang. He's Qin Feiyang. My God. What did I see? It's the legendary figure who once destroyed the dragons and saved billions of people in our ancient world. This is crazy. I never thought it would be him. After a brief moment of silence, the human emperor palace suddenly exploded. Everyone's face was full of worship and admiration, as if they were looking at a god. Qin Feiyang looked at the little demon child and said with a faint smile, "You didn't expect it to be me, did you?" His voice also changed back to its original state. Looking at this familiar face and listening to this familiar voice, the little demon child's eyes suddenly trembled and his face couldn't help but turn pale. You weren't like this back then. Could it be that people in the world can't escape this rule? As their strength continues to grow, their character will also become more and more inflated? Qin Feiyang looked at the little demon child indifferently. The little demon child's body trembled and his legs couldn't help but go soft. He had an impulse to kneel down. This was an instinctive fear. Because back then, he had witnessed how Qin Feiyang destroyed the dragons and destroyed the divine dragon island, so he knew Qin Feiyang's means. No one would have a good end if they angered this person. Qin Feiyang turned his eyes and looked at Wang Xiu, who was standing behind the little demon child. Wang Xiu was just a junior. How could he have the state of mind of the little demon child? He was so scared that he knelt in the void, trembling. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, "Do you know who the person you want to kill is to me?" Wang Xiu shook his head. When little demon child heard this, he also stared at Qin Li and the others in surprise. Could these people be related to Qin Feiyang? Qin Feiyang opened his mouth and said, "They are my blood brothers and sisters." What? Little demon child trembled both physically and mentally. These 7 people were actually Qin Feiyang's younger brothers and sisters? Needless to say, Wang Xiu was so scared that he wet his pants on the spot. He never thought that Qin Li's group of 7 actually had such a big background. And before this, he actually wanted to kill Qin Feiyang's younger brother? Wasn't this courting death? Meanwhile, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the countless disciples in the air above the islands looked at Qin Li's group of 7 with extreme shock. Sister Yu, is also my brother's sister. I see. Everyone came to a realization. This should be the relationship between the two of them. But even if she was his sister, it was still enviable. However, when Wang Yu heard Qin Yi's words, there seemed to be a trace of disappointment on her face, but it wasn't obvious and was quickly replaced by a smile. Qin Feiyang glanced at the countless disciples of the human emperor palace and said with a smile of praise, "I have been watching your sparring. Whether it is the winner or the loser, they are all very good. They are much stronger than us back then." Huh? Much stronger than you back then? Sir, please don't joke around, okay? How can we compare to you? All the disciples were flattered. Of course. In some aspects, you are indeed inferior to us back then. The most obvious is that your combat experience and awareness are obviously insufficient. But I also know that this is not your fault. After all, the current ancient world has entered a period of peace. I also hope that this peace can continue. As disciples of the human Emperor Palace, you are the role models for others. So in the future, you must be a good example and work hard to maintain this rare peace. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Yes. The disciples suddenly couldn't help but roar loudly as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Qin Feiyang nodded with relief. As long as the disciples of the human Emperor Palace were responsible, then no matter how chaotic the ancient world was in the future, it would not be like before. Immediately, he looked at the little demon child again. Qin Feiyang, this is a misunderstanding. The little demon child's eyes trembled and he hurriedly explained, looking extremely flustered. I saw it with my own eyes. Is this still a misunderstanding? Qin Feiyang said with a pleasant smile, without the slightest threatening aura. But the little demon child couldn't help but be afraid. He stammered and couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. Everyone looked at the little demon child with a look of disbelief. The little demon child, who had always been ruthless and lawless, didn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of Qin Feiyang. Was this the deterrent power of Qin Feiyang? It really opened their eyes. Actually, Qin Feiyang suddenly changed the topic and said, "You deserve to die too." The little demon child trembled and immediately knelt down in the void in fear. Qin Feiyang said, "It's obvious that your disciple is looking for trouble for no reason, but you can't distinguish right from wrong and indulge him. We have known each other for so many years. You should know that I hate this kind of person the most." I know. The little demon child nodded repeatedly. "However, you have done your best in the battle with the dragons. For the sake of our past friendship, I will not pursue this matter. I hope you can take care of yourself in the future." Qin Feiyang advised earnestly. "I will." The little demon child nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Then if you have time tonight, let's go to the 9th Heaven Palace. We haven't seen each other for many years. Let's get together as old friends." "Okay." The little demon child nodded again, not daring to act rashly the whole time. "Get up quickly. We used to fight side by side. There's no need to be so estranged over such a small matter." Qin Feiyang helped the little demon child up with his own hands. Only then did the little demon child realize that he was already drenched in cold sweat, and his legs were a little weak. Qin Feiyang is Qin Feiyang. If we had killed his disciple, wouldn't he have fought us to death? Cloud and Beast looked at each other. Although Qin Feiyang had left the ancient world for many years, his deterrence was no less than that of the past. Qin Feiyang patted the little demon child on the shoulder, looked at the disciples above the major islands, and smiled faintly. "Seeing that you are all so outstanding, I'm very pleased. This time, it's not easy for me to come back, so I'll leave you with a gift." "What gift?" Everyone was surprised. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and as the law of time and space surged out, a huge time array appeared out of thin air. "What is this?" Everyone was surprised. "It seems to be a time array," Cloud and Beast murmured. "This is a time array that lasts 5,000 years a day. I hope it will be helpful to your cultivation in the future." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and waved his hand gently. The time array immediately fell and merged with the void of the entire human Emperor Palace. "What? A time array that lasts 5,000 years a day? Are you kidding me? Is there such a terrifying time array in the world? This is the first time I've heard of it. How strong is Qin Feiyang's cultivation now?" Whether it was the disciples or the higher-ups of the human Emperor Palace, they were all shocked. Including Cloud and Beast. This had exceeded their understanding of time arrays. "Our big brother is really amazing." Qin Xian grinned. Qin Li, Qin Yun, Qin Wan, Qin Ji, Qin Yi, and Qin Yi nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang with admiration. In this life, they were most proud of having such an amazing brother. All right. You guys continue. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Wang Yu, Qin Li, and the others. You guys go to the 9th Heaven Palace tonight as well. Okay. They nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Beast and smiled. We'll catch up later tonight. Cloud scolded with a smile, Kid, you didn't greet us for half a day. I thought you forgot about us. How is that possible? Qin Feiyang laughed and landed on the stone platform. He looked at Mu Qing and said, let's go to the south, west, and north of the Human Emperor Palace to take a look. Miss Celestial looked at Qin Feiyang blankly for a while. When she came back to her senses, she quickly said, I'll lead the way. Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Mu Qing nodded and smiled. She seemed very happy. The four stepped out of the Human Emperor Palace. You're leaving already? Elder Yu, who was sitting cross-legged outside, looked at Sheng Wanqiu and Miss Celestial Immortal and asked with a smile. Yes. Both of them nodded. Suddenly, Elder Yu looked at Qin Feiyang, and his expression was filled with bewilderment. Why does he look so familiar? Could he be, but at this time, Qin Feiyang and the others had already left without looking back. Auntie, wait for me. But suddenly, the young man chased after them. Brat, wait a moment. Elder Yu quickly grabbed the young man. Elder Yu, what's wrong? The young man looked at Elder Yu in confusion. Let me ask you, is that man Qin Feiyang? Elder Yu asked with difficulty. Didn't you see it with your own eyes? He is my second uncle, Qin Feiyang. After saying that, the young man hurriedly chased after Qin Feiyang and the others. It's really him. Elder Yu was shocked. No wonder Sheng Wanqiu and Miss Celestial accompanied him personally. It was him. Below. Miss Celestial looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a wry smile, I didn't expect it to be you. Sister Qiu, you've been hiding it from me. Sheng Wanqiu said with a smile, I just wanted to give you a surprise. Miss Celestial looked at her speechlessly. Then, she glanced at Mu Qing and asked suspiciously, then who are you? Me? Mu Qing waved her hand and said, I'm Qin Feiyang's follower. Don't joke around. Miss Celestial's face darkened. Sheng Wanqiu shook her head and said with a smile, he's Mu Qing. You may not have seen him, but you must have heard of his name. Mu Qing? Miss Celestial was slightly stunned. She lowered her head and pondered for a moment. Then, she said in surprise, is he the Mu Qing who has opened the all-seeing eye and has been going against Qin Feiyang and the others? Ahem. I don't think I've been going against him. We were already friends when we entered the ancient world. Mu Qing quickly explained. He could not let Miss Celestial have a bad impression of him because of this matter. Come on. I know you. You also know Mu Tianyang. You were disciples of the 9th Heaven Palace back then. Miss Celestial despised him. Mu Qing laughed awkwardly. It turned out that she knew about them. It seemed that this explanation was a little superfluous. I say, can you be more reserved? Don't you know that you have to take your time to pursue a woman? Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing speechlessly and opened a space-time passage to the south. Second uncle, wait for me. However, at this moment, an anxious voice was heard. Qin Feiyang and the other three looked up and saw the young man running down in a hurry. Second uncle? Who is he calling? Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and the other two suspiciously. He's definitely not calling me. Mu Qing shook her head. The young man ran to the four of them, panting. He looked at Qin Feiyang with a fiery gaze. Why didn't you stay in the human emperor palace? Why did you come to us? Shangguan Qiu frowned. Auntie, with my cultivation level, you can't be thinking of letting me participate in the competition, right? I'm not even qualified to be cannon fodder in front of those geniuses. We'll talk about it later. Now that second uncle is back, I have to follow him and show him filial piety. The young man bared his teeth. Aunt? Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing looked at Shangguan Qiu in shock. What was going on? Shangguan Qiu sighed helplessly and said, his name is Yi Xiaochuan, my sister's son. Yi Xiaochuan? Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing were stunned. The next moment, they exclaimed in unison, your sister's son? Yes. Shangguan Qiu nodded. I'll go. Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing looked at Yi Xiaochuan in disbelief. Wasn't Shangguan Fenglan Shangguan Qiu's sister? Because Shangguan Qiu only had one sister. In other words, this kid in front of them was Shangguan Fenglan and Huiyi's son? No wonder he looked familiar. Hello, second uncle. Wang Xiaochuan moved closer to Qin Feiyang, not showing any signs of unfamiliarity. He chuckled and said, if I knew you were second uncle, I would have definitely brought you to the Heaven Immortal House to drink a few cups in the Holy Dragon City to welcome you back. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched when he heard this. He mentioned drinking as soon as he opened his mouth. As expected of Huiyi's son, because Huiyi was an alcoholic. However, he really couldn't accept it for a moment. Huiyi and Shangguan Fenglan's son was already so old. Now you're in a worse situation. Mu Qing transmitted her voice to him. Why? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. Given your relationship with Huiyi, he must have gone to the Great Qin to visit your parents often. So Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, and your parents must know about Yi Xiaochuan's existence. When you go back, they will urge you to have a few children with the mermaid princess. Mu Qing laughed secretly. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard this. They were all so fast. He was under a lot of pressure. Chapter 43-61. That's not right. You're Huiyi's son, why would you call him second uncle? Also, why would you call her aunt? Mu Qing pointed at Qin Feiyang and Miss Tianxian as she looked at Yi Xiaochuan and asked suspiciously. Usually, aunt referred to the father's elder sister or younger sister. But Miss Tianxian was not Huiyi's elder sister or younger sister. Second uncle and my father are as close as brothers. If I don't call him second uncle, what should I call him? As for aunt, she's my father's adopted sister. As his nephew, I naturally have to call her aunt. Yi Xiaochuan explained. Adopted sister? Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing looked at each other. What was going on? Facing this problem, Miss Tianxian was somewhat helpless. What's going on? Qin Feiyang looked at Shangguan Qiu suspiciously. This matter is indeed a little funny. Doesn't brother-in-law like to drink? Especially the wine from Heaven Immortal Tower. But he's someone who cares about his face and doesn't want to ask Miss Tianxian for help. In the end, he thought of such an idea, to recognize Miss Tianxian as his adopted sister. After becoming brother and sister, if he wants to drink, Miss Tianxian will give it to him. Shangguan Qiu smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Then, a bitter smile appeared on his face. As expected of Huiyi, he could even think of such a rotten idea. Don't mention it. When you mention it, I regret it. Why did I agree to it in a moment of foolishness? During these years, he has taken advantage of my Heaven Immortal Tower many times. The most overbearing thing is that he relied on his identity as a sworn brother to make me send wine to the Nine Heavens Palace every time. He is truly like a boss. Miss Tianxian shook her head. Huh, Qin Feiyang was amused. Sure enough, this guy was a headache. Yi Xiaochuan looked at Miss Tianxian righteously and said, although I'm his son, I don't like him. Aunt, don't worry, I'll always be on your side. Scram. What's the difference between you and your father? Miss Tianxian rolled her eyes. Ha, Yi Xiaochuan laughed dryly, looking extremely embarrassed. Go back quickly. Although you can't participate in the competition, you can still learn a lot from watching the battles of the other disciples. Shengguan Qiu said. Auntie, Yi Xiaochuan felt wronged. Seeing that Shengguan Qiu was unmoved, he looked at Qin Feiyang for help. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Since he's already here, let him follow. But, Shengguan Qiu frowned. But before Shengguan Qiu could say anything, Yi Xiaochuan said happily, thank you, second uncle. Shengguan Qiu sighed helplessly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, don't spoil him. The more you spoil these kids, the more they'll push their luck. Are you still my aunt? Hearing this, Yi Xiaochuan looked at Shengguan Qiu unhappily. It's because I'm your aunt that I know what kind of person you are. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to ask your Uncle Qin for wine. He doesn't drink either. Shengguan Qiu said with a straight face. Uncle, you don't drink? Yi Xiaochuan looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment, as if he had discovered a new continent. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Your father and mother both know about this. Didn't they tell you? No. Yi Xiaochuan shook his head and laughed. But my father did say that you must have a lot of good wine with you. Qin Feiyang was confused. I don't drink. How can I have good wine? Yi Xiaochuan bared his teeth and said, you don't drink, but you're a big shot. You must have some good wine with you to entertain your friends or guests, right? So you're shamelessly following me because you want to get some divine wine from me. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Divine wine? What did you say? You have divine wine? Yi Xiaochuan's eyes lit up. Yes. I have a lot of divine wine in my collection. Qin Feiyang nodded. Uncle, my dear uncle, give me some. Let me have a taste. Even if it's just a small cup, I haven't had any divine wine in my life. Yi Xiaochuan immediately went up to Qin Feiyang and massaged Qin Feiyang's back and shoulders. His face was full of flattery. Looking at this little guy, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. He was indeed the same as his father. However, Shengguan Qiu and Miss Fairy's faces darkened. This little brat really didn't change. They felt helpless. Shengguan Fenglan was good from head to toe. Why did she inherit Hui's genes? Let's go. Don't look for me when it comes to alcohol. Look for your Uncle Crazy and Uncle Wolf King. They are the real kindred spirits of your father. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, then stepped into the space-time passage without looking back. You brat, behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll beat you up. Shengguan Qiu and Miss Fairy glared at Yi Xiaochuan and also turned to enter the space-time passage. Yi Xiaochuan's face was full of grievance. Mu Qing rolled his eyes and put his arm around Yi Xiaochuan's shoulder and said, Brat, don't be dejected. Women are like this. They have long hair and short vision. I think so too. Yi Xiaochuan nodded. But then. He turned to look at Mu Qing and asked suspiciously, Who are you? You brat, you have good eyesight. You don't even know your uncle. Mu Qing's face darkened. Uncle? Yi Xiaochuan was stunned. Yes. I'm your uncle. Didn't your aunt tell you? Mu Qing nodded. Is there such a thing? Yi Xiaochuan scratched his head. It didn't seem so. Aunt had always been single. Sigh. Mu Qing shook his head and sighed. He patted Yi Xiaochuan's shoulder and said, "Actually, I've always liked your aunt, but I didn't dare to confess." "So you're secretly in love?" Yi Xiaochuan nodded in realization. "You can say that. Brat, they look down on you, but uncle admires you very much. How about it? Help uncle?" For example, the Ice Emperor, the Rain Emperor, Yi Cheng, Yi Shui, Li Xiaofei, and the former divine generals of the Dragon Slayer Palace. There were once 108 divine generals of the Dragon Slayer Palace. Among them, Xia Yuan and half of the divine generals were now in his Black Tortoise realm because Xia Yuan and the others were subordinates of Qin Batian and Lu Zhengyang. Moreover, they were all people of the great Qin. Back then, they followed Qin Batian and Lu Zhengyang into the ancient world. Therefore, for both public and private reasons, Qin Feiyang had to take good care of them. The remaining divine generals were the subordinates of Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast. These divine generals all stayed in the ancient world. Now, they held important positions in the 4 human emperor palaces and held important positions. Of course, their strength was also stronger than before. At night, the sun set. A bright full moon slowly rose from the horizon. Empyrean Palace. At this moment, whether it was the mountain peak or the stone stairs leading to Empyrean Palace, there was a sea of people. These people were all disciples of Empyrean Palace. Didn't Senior Brother Lunatic say that Senior Brother Qin and the others would come to our Empyrean Palace in the evening? It's already dark now, why haven't they arrived yet? Everyone whispered and looked at the void, nervous and expectant. In front of the crowd, a white-haired old man stood against the wind, watching the night fall, and couldn't help but mutter anxiously, "What are these 2 brats doing? Don't they know that this old man is waiting for them?" This old man was the guardian of Empyrean Palace, Shengguan Fenglan's teacher, Elder Wei. He was an old man of noble character and prestige. Even Lunatic was extremely respectful to this person. The people he was waiting for were Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf. As for Lunatic, in the afternoon, he had already brought Zhuo Xiaoxian into Empyrean Palace. For Qin Feiyang and the others, they didn't have deep feelings for Empyrean Palace. The reason why Empyrean Palace was so important was entirely because of Hua Yi and the Fire Lotus. However, for Lunatic, this was his home. He grew up here. His adoptive father and grandfather had lived here all their lives. Therefore, this was already a part of his life that he couldn't give up. Chapter 4362. Swish. All of a sudden, a teleportation altar appeared. 3 figures gradually appeared. The one in the lead was Yi Zhong. Behind him were Yi Cheng and Yi Shui. After not seeing each other for many years, Yi Cheng looked even more energetic and radiant. Yi Shui was dressed in a snow-white dress. Her black hair was like a waterfall, and her temperament was extraordinary. Many young disciples couldn't help but be infatuated with her. "Greetings, Elder Yi." Elder Wei hurriedly stepped forward to greet them. "Don't be so polite." Yi Zhong waved his hand and looked amiable. He didn't put on any airs at all. "Greetings, Grandpa Wei." Yi Shui also bowed to Elder Wei politely. Good, good, good." Elder Wei nodded repeatedly and said with a hoarse smile, "You've become much prettier than the last time I saw you. I wonder which man will be so lucky to marry you in the future." Yi Shui blushed and couldn't help but lower her head shyly. She seems to be Yi Zhong's granddaughter. The rumors are true. She's as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. There seemed to be a fire burning in the hearts of many disciples. But more of them were depressed. They could only look up to a goddess of this level. Yi Cheng glanced around and asked, "Where are they?" Elder Wei said with a smile, "Little madman is back, and he brought back a nice little girl." "Really?" Yi Cheng and Yi Shua were surprised. "Although I've just met this girl, she's humble and knowledgeable. I really think she's good. It said that she's from the Sky Cloud realm." Elder Wei smiled. "This little lunatic is really lucky." Yi Cheng laughed. Yi Zhong asked, "Is Elder Mo very happy to see him bring back a granddaughter-in-law?" Elder Mo was the first elder. "Of course. After all, this is his only wish now." Elder Wei chuckled. "What about Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf?" Yi Shua asked. "The white-eyed wolf doesn't know. But isn't Qin Feiyang in the Divine Land? Don't you know? This old man originally thought that you two would come together." Old Wei was doubtful. "He is indeed in the Divine Prefecture. But as you know, he has a lot of old friends in the Divine Prefecture, so he must be traveling around. Don't worry about him. Let's go up first." Yi Zhong smiled. Old Man Wei said, "Then you go up first. This old man will continue to wait for them here." Yi Zhong said unhappily, "They are just a few juniors. Do you need to personally wait for them here? You can't say that. After all, they are the heroes of our ancient world. Besides, other than the few of them, there will definitely be many old friends who will come after hearing the news." Elder Wei said with a hoarse laugh. Yi Zhong shook his head and laughed in spite of himself. He said, "All right then. Let's go up first and take a look at Old Man Mo's granddaughter-in-law." Not long after Yi Zhong and the others entered the Nine Heavens Palace, a teleportation altar appeared. Li Changhe asked, "Where's the young master?" The so-called young master was Qin Feiyang. "He hasn't arrived yet," Elder Wei said. The group of people looked at each other, then looked at Elder Wei and said, "In that case, we'll wait for him here with you." When Elder Wei heard that, he didn't say much, but he took a deep look at the group of people. Because he could understand how these people felt at the moment. These people were all Qin Feiyang's old subordinates, and it was also because Qin Feiyang gave them a chance to turn over a new leaf that they could have today's achievements. Therefore, even though Qin Feiyang had left for many years, they had always been grateful in their hearts. Whoosh! After a while, another figure broke through the air and arrived. It was a young man who looked quite extraordinary and had an extremely powerful aura. This person landed on the top of the mountain and looked at Elder Wei, Wang Daoyuan, and the group. He pretended to pinch his fingers and bared his teeth, saying, "I've calculated with my fingers that you must be waiting for Qin Feiyang here." When the group of people heard that, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but twitch. Wasn't this obvious? Did he need to pinch his fingers to calculate? You've calculated it correctly, haven't you? Don't you admire me very much? This person was Li Xiaofan, Lu Zhengyang's disciple. Get lost. No, I'm just passing by. Li Changhe was speechless. Huh, you're just jealous of my talent. Li Xiaofan raised his head and laughed, then rushed into the Ninth Heaven Palace without looking back. This bastard boy. He's obviously very talented and capable, but he's always fooling around outside. Wang Daoyuan shook his head, looking as if he expected better from him. Fooling around? Elder Wei was suspicious. Yes. Originally, Elder Yi wanted him to go to the Human Emperor Palace and be the Grand Hall Master of the Law Enforcement Hall, but guess what he said? He said that being the Grand Hall Master was a waste of his time. Wang Daoyuan looked helpless. Elder Wei smiled bitterly. Were all the young people of this generation so indifferent to fame and fortune? But this boy's talent is really amazing. Now, not only has he broken through to the inextinguishable realm, but he has also comprehended 3 laws. If he can stay in the Human Emperor Palace, he will definitely have brilliant achievements. Li Changhe shook his head regretfully. The others nodded one after another. The disciples taught by Sunlight Emperor were indeed extraordinary. After a while, Wang Yu also brought Qin Li and the others to the Ninth Heaven Palace. Facing Elder Wei, Li Changhe, and the others, whether it was Wang Yu, or Qin Li and the others, they were all very respectful. As Qin Feiyang's trusted subordinates, Li Changhe and the others already knew the identity of Qin Li and the others. Have you gotten used to the human emperor palace after all these years? Wang Daoyuan asked with a smile. Isn't it the same everywhere? But you guys, seeing my big brother come back, are you very nervous? Qin Xian grimaced. Nervous? Why are we nervous? The group was puzzled. He's your boss, aren't you nervous? Qin Xian asked. Brat. Do you really think your big brother is a tiger? Let me tell you, your big brother is indeed cruel to his enemies, but he has always been kind to the people around him. Let's talk about it later. We haven't done anything wrong in the ancient world all these years, what are we afraid of? The group shook their heads and laughed. You haven't done anything wrong? Big brother Li Chang, I heard that you've married a few wives over the years. Can you handle so many? And Wang Daoyuan, I heard that you seem to have taken a fancy to the top girl of the Jade Moon House, I think she's called Xiao Yun, and you often go to her in the middle of the night. Qin Xian chuckled as he continued to reveal the shocking information about them. Cough, cough. The few of them looked embarrassed and said angrily, Brat, can't you pay attention to the situation when you speak? Can't you see that there are so many juniors here? Okay. Qin Xian nodded and looked at the disciples of the Nine Heavens Palace. He smiled and said, I'm just joking, don't take it seriously. The disciples looked at each other with strange expressions. Then, they nodded at Qin Xian as if they understood. Actually, I can understand you guys. After all, you guys have been fighting for the ancient world. Now that you finally have some free time, you definitely want to relax. However, you still have to control yourself to avoid exhausting your body. After all, you're not young anymore. Qin Xian bared his teeth, causing the surrounding crowd to burst into laughter. Brat, I'll teach you a lesson. Wang Daoyuan gnashed his teeth and sent a slap over. Qin Xian quickly fled, flying back to the Nine Heavens Palace. He roared without looking back, Big brother Wang, remember to call me along the next time you go to the Jade Moon House. I want to go and broaden my horizons. Wang Daoyuan's face darkened, and his mouth twitched. How could there be such an unreliable brat? How could they face others in the future? When Wang Yu, Qin Li, and the others saw this scene, they could not help smiling bitterly. Before his identity was exposed, Qin Xian had kept a low profile and restrained himself. Now that his identity was exposed, he was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins, revealing his true nature. End of this chapter. The face of senior brother Qin and the others was really unimaginable. Because Qin Feiyang and Madman used to be disciples of Nine Heavens Palace, the current disciples had always been affectionately calling them senior brother. I didn't expect the four of them to come in person. Wang Daoyuan shook his head. Yeah. The young master's face is really big. Li Changhe also nodded. In today's ancient world, except for the young master, who could alarm so many great figures? Divine Land. Cloud Mountain Village. The vegetation was lush and full of vitality. Above a graveyard, a space-time passage appeared. Qin Feiyang, Mu Qing, Sheng Wanqiu, Miss Fairy, and Yi Xiaochuan walked out one after another. Where is this? Yi Xiaochuan was suspicious. Qin Feiyang glared at him and lowered his head to look down. He saw Li Feng bending over and personally dealing with the weeds on the graves. He is? Yi Xiaochuan looked at Li Feng in confusion. Sheng Guanqiu and Miss Fairy felt that he looked familiar. Wait. Could it be, suddenly? Sheng Guanqiu seemed to have thought of something and looked at Li Feng in surprise. Yes. He is the only survivor of Cloud Mountain Village, Li Feng. Qin Feiyang nodded and stepped into the graveyard. He stood in front of Li Yuntai's tombstone and bowed deeply. Then he glanced at all the graves and murmured, Li Feng has turned over a new leaf and is a very responsible man. You can rest in peace. Uncle, who is this Li Feng? He seems to be very powerful. Yi Xiaochuan turned to look at Mu Qing and asked suspiciously. Uncle? Miss Fairy and Sheng Guanqiu were stunned and immediately looked at Yi Xiaochuan and Mu Qing. What is this? Mu Qing looked at the two women and sighed. Back then, the people in this village were all killed by the dragons. Li Feng was the only one left. At that time, he was blinded by hatred and killed people like flies. Even when he came to the Sky Cloud realm, I don't know how many people died in his hands. So cruel? Yi Xiaochuan looked at Li Feng in surprise. He couldn't tell at all. Because he couldn't feel the slightest trace of ruthlessness from Li Feng. If it were someone else, he would have died many times over after committing such a heavy sin. But he was lucky to meet Qin Feiyang, the lunatic, and the white-eyed wolf. Under their guidance, Li Feng finally turned over a new leaf. And now, he is the hero of the Sky Cloud realm and the idol of countless young people. Mu Qing smiled slightly. The hero of the Sky Cloud realm, not only Yi Xiaochuan, but even Sheng Guanqiu and Miss Fairy were full of admiration. Because it wasn't hard to imagine how many things a demon king who had killed countless people had to go through to become a hero admired by tens of thousands of people. As for his strength, he must be very strong. Even I am not his opponent. Mu Qing smiled faintly. It was rare for him to be humble. Although he had the all-seeing eye, it didn't have any lethality. And Li Feng's puppet real body could increase his battle strength by several times. So even if they both had the will of heaven, Mu Qing couldn't beat Li Feng. So strong? Yi Xiaochuan was surprised and said in surprise, compared to second uncle? Compared to your second uncle? The corner of Mu Qing's mouth twitched and he shook his head. In this world, there is probably no one who dares to compare with your second uncle. Even in the Sky Cloud realm, he is the number one. Strong. Yi Xiaochuan looked at Qin Feiyang with a look of worship. A moment later, Li Feng finally finished cleaning all the weeds on the graves. That was because he had been sweeping the tombs for the entire day. When Qin Feiyang and the others arrived, it was already close to the end. The reason why he took so long was because the weeds on the tombs were all personally pulled out by him. He didn't know how many sad tears he had shed throughout the whole day. Qin Dage, I still can't accept it. Li Feng walked to Qin Feiyang's side and said with clenched hands. I can understand. But Long Chen and Long Qin have done enough. Qin Feiyang sighed. I know. Don't worry. I won't find trouble with them again. Moreover, I can't beat Long Chen. I will try my best to forget all of this. Li Feng said. Qin Feiyang patted Li Feng's shoulder and said with a smile, let's go. Follow me to the 9th Heaven Palace and let everyone know the current you. Okay. Li Feng nodded and knelt on the ground. Facing the grave in front of him, he kowtowed 3 times and muttered, if I can come back alive from the Sky Cloud realm in the future, I will come to visit you again. If I can't, I will ask Big Brother Qin to bring my corpse back and bury it with everyone so that I can accompany you forever. What are you talking about? We will all come back alive. Qin Feiyang glared at him and looked at the graves in front of him. He whispered, I will take good care of Li Feng. Rest in peace. Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang and kowtowed 3 more times. He stood up and resolutely turned around and left with Qin Feiyang. Chapter 43-64. At the same time, 9 Heavens Palace welcomed another 6 people. The aura of these 6 people was very powerful. They were even stronger than the Rain Sovereign, Ice Sovereign, and other major divine techniques. One of them was even comparable to Supreme Cloud and Beast Sovereign. That's right. The 6 people were Little Demon Child, the old man with straw sandals, the burly man, the old woman in green robe, the middle-aged man in golden robe, and the enchanting woman. However, compared to the old man with straw sandals and others, Little Demon Child seemed particularly reserved. Wang Daoyuan looked at the 6 people and chuckled, "I didn't expect to disturb you." His eyes inadvertently glanced at Little Demon Child with a hint of sarcasm. Li Changhe and others also looked at Little Demon Child with a faint smile. Little Demon Child lowered his head, feeling ashamed and resentful. "We are all old friends. Friends should be more tolerant." The old man with straw sandals chuckled. He was still wearing a pair of broken straw sandals as usual. His sloppy appearance was comparable to Lin Yi's master. "You have to be honest. Someone has been arrogant and domineering in the ancient world for so many years. Have we ever said anything? If he didn't want to hurt young Lord's younger brother this time, I'm afraid even young Lord wouldn't say anything. However, I really admire his courage. He dares to touch young Lord's younger brother." Wang Qi and others chuckled, and the sarcasm in their words became more obvious. The middle-aged man in golden robe smiled. "This matter is really like a flood rushing to the Dragon King's temple. I hope you can be magnanimous and don't bother with him. He is a powerhouse in the great perfection undead realm. How dare we bother with him?" Fan Yunzhang chuckled. He didn't hide his sarcasm towards Little Demon Child. Little Demon Child clenched his hands, stared at the group of people, and said gloomily, "I really came to ask for a rebuff." After saying that, he turned and left. "What are you doing?" The old man with straw sandals grabbed him and transmitted his voice, "If you don't take this opportunity to resolve this matter now, how can you survive in the ancient world in the future? I want to resolve this matter, but look at their attitude." Little Demon Child said angrily. "You deserve it. Who told you to be so arrogant? Let me tell you, if you can't get Qin Feiyang's forgiveness, all creatures in the ancient world will reject you in the future. You think you're so strong that you don't care? Don't forget, even if Qin Feiyang leaves, there's still Yizhong, the 4 guardians. With their strength, killing you is as easy as flipping their hands. In the past, Boss Yi didn't attack you because you contributed to the ancient realm. But you have to know that no matter who it is, there is a limit. Once this limit is exceeded, even a person with a good temper will get angry." The old man thought to himself. The Little Demon Child's eyes trembled. That's right. The current Qin Feiyang can even create a time formation that lasts 5,000 years in a day. It's clear how powerful he is. This time, he must have brought back a lot of fortunes. The enchanting woman transmitted her voice. Her charming eyes were like silk and filled with expectation. Little Demon Boy's heart skipped a beat. If that was the case, then wouldn't he be able to become even more powerful if he were to casually obtain a bit of fortune? But, if he continued to stay here, he would definitely continue to suffer from a lot of disdain. He was very conflicted. Wang. At this moment, a space-time tunnel appeared. A golden-robed young man slowly walked out, holding the hand of a woman. Everyone looked at this man and woman with suspicious looks. The man and woman were the white-eyed wolf and Huo Wu. However, no one had seen the white-eyed wolf's human form. As for Huo Wu, there was no doubt that they were even more unfamiliar with her. So, No one recognized the white-eyed wolf's identity. So many people? The white-eyed wolf looked at the crowd at the top of the mountain and the stairway to heaven. He couldn't help but be stunned. Are they all old friends? Huo Wu asked in a low voice. The white-eyed wolf scanned the crowd. His gaze finally fell on Wang Daoyuan, Elder Wei, the little demon child, and the others. He bared his teeth and said, "There are indeed many old friends. You too are?" Elder Wei stepped forward and asked doubtfully. The white-eyed wolf raised the corner of his mouth and laughed. "I'm here to cause trouble." "What? Cause trouble?" He must be crazy. Doesn't he know that senior brother Qin and senior brother Crazy have returned to the ancient realm? And now, all the big shots of the ancient realm are at the Empyrean Palace. Cause trouble? He's not here to court death. The disciples of the Empyrean Palace were stunned. At the same time, hearing this, the faces of Wang Daoyuan and the others couldn't help but sink. The straw sandals old man sized up the white-eyed wolf and said, "Little demon child, now is the time for you to show off." Because the white-eyed wolf and Huo Wu had restrained their auras, they looked like ordinary people, so they didn't take them seriously. Boom! The little demon child took a step forward. The majesty of the great perfection imperishable stage surged toward the white-eyed wolf and Huo Wu like a tide. Yo! Great perfection imperishable stage? Your cultivation is quite fast. The white-eyed wolf laughed strangely. However, with a gentle wave of his hand, the little demon child's majesty collapsed on the spot. What? Everyone's expression changed greatly. With a wave of his hand, he broke the little demon child's majesty. How strong was this person? Would such a joyous day turn into a disaster? The group of people were all deeply worried. You really scared us to death. We thought it was some powerful enemy who came to seek revenge. It's not easy for us to get together. Can you not make such a joke? Also, how did you transform into a human? Didn't you used to be very disdainful of this? Wang Daoyuan and the others immediately surrounded the ingrate and started talking at the same time. Some were complaining while others were curious. What a bastard! Looking at the white-eyed wolf, old man Wei couldn't help laughing and scolding. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. The little demon child and the others looked at each other, shocked. It turned out to be this wolf cub. This strength was too terrifying, wasn't it? Aren't you annoying? Chattering like a group of chicks. Looking at Wang Daoyuan and the others, the white-eyed wolf said with a dark face. You're really heartless. We're just happy to see you. Wang Daoyuan pursed his lips and looked at Huo Wu. He chuckled and said, Brother Wolf, is this really sister-in-law? How can this be fake? The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Hello, sister-in-law. Immediately, a group of people greeted Huo Wu. Huo Wu looked at this scene and couldn't help but want to laugh. One could imagine a group of middle-aged men and old men addressing a young woman as sister-in-law. How comical would that be? Brother Wolf, can you not make such a joke next time? Even I was shocked. Sheng Guanxiu looked at the white-eyed wolf unhappily. So timid? Why are you still the chief pavilion master? Take the opportunity to abdicate. The white-eyed wolf despised her. Sheng Guanxiu was trembling with anger. Blame her for being timid? Don't you know how strong you are? Anyone would be scared. Who is this kid? Is he another orphan you picked up from somewhere? The white-eyed wolf walked to Qin Feiyang and looked at Yi Xiaochuan suspiciously. Orphan? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He was cursing Hua Yi and Shengguan Fenglan. Uncle Wolf, why can't you talk nicely? My father and mother are still alive and well. Xiaochuan was also speechless. Uncle? The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned. Xiaochuan rolled his eyes and ignored the ingrate. He quickly ran in front of Fire Dance and said with a fawning smile, "Hello, Auntie. Auntie is really beautiful. For Uncle Wolf to be able to marry you, he must have accumulated good karma in his previous life. He was also a little clever. He could tell at a glance that Huo Wu was the one in charge." Huo Wu looked at this little guy in shock and couldn't help but laugh. "Who is this bastard kid?" The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. Why was he so annoying? She looked at the disciples behind her and said, "Are they all wood?" The disciples looked at each other and shouted in unison, "Greetings, Senior Brother Qin." "Welcome back, Senior Brother Qin." Qin Feiyang was startled, looked at Wang Yun helplessly, and said, "There's no need to make such a big welcoming ceremony. Ordinary people definitely don't need it, but you're not an ordinary person." Wang Yun smiled slyly. Qin Feiyang laughed involuntarily, looked at the disciples in front of him, and said, "Thank you for everyone's love. You don't have to be so reserved. I will always be a disciple of Empyrean Palace, and will always be your senior brother." Everyone looked at the sincere face of Qin Feiyang and was a little surprised. Wasn't it rumored that this senior brother Qin was very ferocious? Why did he look so amiable now? "I didn't prepare any greeting gifts, so I'll give you a time formation. I hope you can cultivate well and work hard to become the future pillars of the ancient realm." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, a time formation of 5,000 years per day appeared and merged with the ground below. "Old Wei, your Empyrean Palace is blessed. This is a time formation of 5,000 years per day." Wang Daoyuan chuckled. "What? A time formation of 5,000 years per day?" Old Wei's eyes trembled. When the disciples and upper management heard this, they looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. Even the people of the Divine Prefecture had never heard of such a time formation, let alone the people of Empyrean Palace. This was a shocking thing. Wang Yun recovered and shouted, "Why aren't you thanking your senior brother Qin?" "Thank you, Senior Brother Qin, we will definitely work hard." All the disciples shouted excitedly. This was the best greeting gift for them. With this time formation, their cultivation speed would increase exponentially. Even Elder Wei expressed his gratitude repeatedly. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Old Wei with a smile. "I also came from Empyrean Palace. Now that I'm back, I must do something for Empyrean Palace. It's rare." Old Wei sighed. There weren't many people in this world who knew how to repay kindness. Moreover, even if Empyrean Palace had once done Qin Feiyang a favor, Qin Feiyang had already repaid it back when he was in the ancient world. Even so, Qin Feiyang still remembered this place. To be able to meet this kid, it was not only the ancient world's blessing, but also his Empyrean Palace's blessing. "All right. Everyone, disperse." Taking a deep breath, Old Wei waved his hand and smiled at the surrounding disciples, then led Qin Feiyang and the others to fly to the back mountain of Empyrean Palace. Back Mountain. Green mountains and clear waters, the scenery was pleasant. At this moment, there were already quite a few people sitting by the side of a lake. They were chatting and laughing merrily. The ones in the lead were naturally the four guardians and Yizhong, followed by Sovereign Beast and Supreme Cloud. Frenzy and Zhuoxiaoxian were sitting next to Great Elder. Great Elder looked at this well-behaved granddaughter-in-law, and his old face was about to bloom with a smile. Zhuoxiaoxian was still a little uncomfortable being suddenly doted by this old man. The smile on Hua Yi and Shengguan Fenglan's faces never disappeared. In contrast, Hua Yi was more looking forward to it. Because for Qin Feiyang, he had always regarded him as a brother. Yi Zhong looked up at the noisy mountain outside and smiled. There's a big movement outside. It should be these little guys coming. Apart from them, there really isn't anyone else who can cause such a big commotion. Supreme Cloud chuckled. Soon, figures entered everyone's sight one after another. Except for Yi Zhong, Frenzy, Lin Yi, and the four guardians all got up and looked at the group of people coming from the void in the distance. Second uncle, they are all there. Yi Xiaochuan pointed to the crowd below and said. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at those familiar faces. A smile immediately appeared on his face. Immediately, he landed straight by the lake. Hua Yi immediately stepped forward, hugged Qin Feiyang, and exclaimed, "Brother, after so many years, you are finally willing to come back." Qin Feiyang was taken aback and smiled bitterly. Don't be so mushy, okay? People who don't know will think that we have a special relationship. Special relationship? Bah! Don't disgust me. I'm a serious man, and I also like women. Hua Yi let go of Qin Feiyang and scolded. White-eyed Wolf glanced at Shengguan Fenglan next to him and joked, "Which woman do you like?" Of course, I like. Hua Yi was about to speak, but he suddenly felt a murderous gaze. He quickly coughed, hugged Shengguan Fenglan, and said, "Of course, I like my Lan. What a strong desire to survive. Old man." Shengguan Fenglan blushed. Only then did Hua Yi react. He stared at the white-eyed wolf and frowned. "No, who are you?" "I'm your brother." The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes. "My brother?" Hua Yi was taken aback. Yi Zhong, the four guardians, the great elder, Supreme Cloud, and others also looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. This person was indeed unfamiliar. Chapter 4366. White-eyed Wolf. Madman said faintly from the side. White-eyed Wolf. Everyone looked at Madman in shock. Madman pursed his lips and said, "Other than him, who else would dig a hole for Hua Yi?" "What are you talking about? How is this digging a hole? I'm just asking the truth. Which woman does he like? After all, he used to have a lot of women." White-eyed Wolf stared at Madman with dissatisfaction. Stop, stop. Hua Yi listened to these words and felt that something was wrong. He used to have a lot of women. Many? He didn't even know. This bastard was still digging a hole for him? Everyone else laughed. It was indeed the style of this wolf cub. He would dig a hole for others whenever he disagreed. Yi Shue smiled and said, "You're quite handsome like this." "I-oh." White-eyed Wolf immediately beamed and looked at Yi Shue. "You have the best taste here. How is it? Do you have a boyfriend? Do you want me to introduce you to one?" Yi Shue's mouth twitched. She regretted it. She shouldn't have talked to this guy. Not a single word was pleasant to hear. "Don't tell me you're still single? That's a little surprising. Little girl, don't set your sights too high. After all, a man like me who is handsome and affectionate is already extinct in this world." White-eyed Wolf touched his chin and chuckled. He didn't know how to write the word thick-skinned. "Oh my God, who will save me?" Yi Shue looked at the sky speechlessly. Everyone else laughed. This familiar atmosphere was really nostalgic. As long as White-eyed Wolf was around, it would never be boring. "Okay. Sit down and talk." Shengguan Fenglan called out. White-eyed Wolf said, "Do you have good wine and dishes prepared? If not, I'll leave immediately." "Go, no one is tying you up." Shengguan Fenglan's face darkened. "You want me to leave?" "I won't leave. Little E, come, I've prepared a gift for you." The white-eyed wolf waved at Hua Yi. What gift? Hua Yi was suspicious. Everyone looked at the white-eyed wolf in confusion. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand and a large pile of wine jars appeared. There were probably thousands of them. Even though they were tightly sealed, one could still smell the intoxicating wine fragrance. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and said, "These are all divine brews. How about it? Bro, aren't you a good friend? Divine wine?" Hua Yi's eyes lit up and he laughed, "Brother Wolf, you really are my big brother." Shangguan Fenglan's face darkened when she saw this scene. What she hated the most was Hua Yi drinking. Because of this, after teaching him a lesson many times, Hua Yi also restrained himself. But she didn't expect that the white-eyed wolf would take out so many wines, and they were all divine brews. Wasn't he deliberately trying to anger her? Wait. There's still that brat. Suddenly, Shangguan Fenglan's expression changed and she quickly looked at Yi Xiaochuan. Sure enough. When Yi Xiaochuan saw the divine wine, he immediately couldn't control himself and rushed to Hua Yi's side. "Brat, what are you doing?" Hua Yi was stunned and immediately glared at Yi Xiaochuan. "Dad, we'll share blessings and misfortunes." Yi Xiaochuan bared his teeth and reached out to grab the wine jar. Hua Yi's face darkened and he slapped it hard. Yi Xiaochuan was in so much pain that he quickly retracted his claws. Then, he looked at his heartless father with an aggrieved expression. "Brat, what wine are you drinking?" Hua Yi glared at him, then took away all of the divine wine. "Dad?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Hua Yi and Yi Xiaochuan in surprise. Now that Yi Xiaochuan and Hua Yi were standing together, they were simply too similar. That's right. This little guy is the child of Hua Yi and Shangguan Fenglan. His name is Yi Xiaochuan. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Like father, like son. This saying was not false at all. Damn! Your child is already so big? The white-eyed wolf looked at Hua Yi and Shangguan Fenglan in astonishment. It's none of your business. Shangguan Fenglan snorted coldly. How is it? Brother, I'm amazing. Hua Yi followed the white-eyed wolf and put his arm around his shoulder. Amazing. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at the dissatisfied Shangguan Fenglan. His eyes turned slightly and he said to Yi Xiaochuan, "Kid, come here." "Uncle Wolf, what can I do for you?" Yi Xiaochuan hurriedly ran in front of the white-eyed wolf, his face full of flattery. "Uncle, I like you very much." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Looking at the white-eyed wolf like this, Shangguan Fenglan suddenly had an uneasy premonition in her heart. Immediately after, her uneasiness took place. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand again and a large pile of divine wine appeared. He said very heroically, "This is Uncle's gift to you. Let me tell you, men should eat meat and drink wine. Don't learn from your Uncle Qin. It's not interesting at all, understand?" Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Uncle Wolf. Yi Xiaochuan nodded repeatedly, his face full of excitement. But at this moment, whether it was Yi Xiaochuan, the white-eyed wolf, or Hua Yi, they all felt an invisible murderous aura surging over. Hua Yi urged, "Brat, hurry up and put it away. Wait for your mother to get angry, don't even think about leaving a jar behind." Yi Xiaochuan shuddered and hurriedly put the divine wine into his universe ring. Then he turned to look at Shangguan Fenglan and smiled embarrassedly, "Mom, there are so many elders here. Leave your son some face." Looking at the innocent, wronged, and fawning Yi Xiaochuan, Shangguan Fenglan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yi Zhong and the others also couldn't help but laugh. This father and son pair was also a pair of weirdos. I haven't been so happy in a long time. Yi Zhong laughed. As he spoke, he glanced at the little demon child but didn't say much. Since Qin Feiyang brought the little demon child here, it meant that Qin Feiyang didn't pursue the matter. Since Qin Feiyang didn't pursue the matter, he naturally had nothing to pursue either. Yes. It's not just that I haven't been so happy in a long time. It's also been a long time since everyone gathered like this. Supreme Cloud and Supreme Beast nodded. They were all busy with their own things. It was really quite difficult to get together. Wang Daoyuan asked curiously, "Young master, brother wolf, frenzy, what's your cultivation base now?" Hearing this question, the others also looked at Qin Feiyang and the others, their eyes full of curiosity. Our cultivation base? I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I tell you. White-eyed Wolf smiled proudly. Then hurry up and scare us to death. Li Changhe and the others jeered. Then sit tight. Our current cultivation base has reached the peak of this world. Complete sovereign realm. White-eyed Wolf said. Complete sovereign realm? So fast. Wait a minute, is complete sovereign realm the peak of cultivation? It seems that the sovereign realm is above the imperishable realm. Everyone was surprised. Yes. White-eyed Wolf nodded. Qin Yi pursed his lips and said, if that's the case, it's not that great. Now, many people in the ancient world have stepped into the imperishable realm. Boy, you're too arrogant. How dare you say such words? White-eyed Wolf glanced at Qin Yi. Did I say something wrong? Qin Yi was a little flustered. Indeed, you're wrong. There are strong and weak complete sovereign realm. Comprehending the fifth profound of the six laws can step into the complete sovereign realm. But above the fifth profound, there is the supreme profound and ultimate profound. The supreme profound and ultimate profound are countless times more difficult than the fifth profound. Even in the sky cloud realm, the number of people who can comprehend the ultimate profound can be counted on one hand. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. There are so many profound laws. Everyone was shocked. It was beyond their imagination. Then, big brother, have you comprehended the ultimate profound? Qin Yun looked at Qin Feiyang. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Yes? Qin Yun was stunned and hurriedly asked, how many? Quite a lot. Spacetime law, time law, destruction law, cause and effect law, death law, life law, and life and death law. Qin Feiyang smiled. What? So many? It's actually the strongest law. Everyone was dumbfounded. Wait. What is the life and death law that you mentioned? Hua Yi stared at Qin Feiyang in bewilderment. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, the life and death law is an existence that surpasses the strongest law. Profound of the same level can crush the strongest law. Damn. Hua Yi was stunned. The life and death law is very difficult to comprehend. In today's world, as far as we know, there is only Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and another juggernaut. Mu Qing said. Inner demons? Juggernaut? Everyone was stunned. Qin Li's spirit shook as he asked, Big brother, this heart demon, is it referring to that heart demon of yours? Qin Feiyang nodded. But didn't father say that he is already dead? There is also big cousin. Qin Li and the others were shocked. They are not dead. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Not dead, everyone was in disbelief. It's a long story. I came back this time mainly to see you all. I don't intend to talk about anything else. Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Everyone looked at each other. Was there something else that was hard to say? All right. Let's end this topic here. As for our strength, when you all comprehend the ultimate profound in the future, you will naturally know. Qin Feiyang smiled and glanced at his friends, elders, and former subordinates in front of him. This time, besides coming back to see everyone, I also intend to send some good fortune to the ancient world. We have all seen the good fortune you sent. With these time arrays, our ancient world will definitely produce many talents in the future." The sloppy old man chuckled. The other three guardians also had gratified expressions. No matter how strong this kid became, he did not forget about the ancient world. No. What kind of good fortune can a mere time array be considered? Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. The 4 guardians were astonished. A 5,000 years a day time array is not a good fortune? That's why I said that you all have not seen the world. A mere 5,000 years a day time array, as long as you comprehend the ultimate profound, you will have the ability to open it. The white-eyed wolf despised them. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but shake their heads and smile bitterly. The ultimate profound of the time law, for people like them, was simply an untouchable existence. First, I will help all of you open the door of potential. Although all of you have opened the door of potential before, not all of you have opened it. Another one. In my hands, there are still many ultimate profound and ultimate profound inheritances. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Although he only had 3,000 ultimate profundity inheritances left, he still had many ordinary ultimate profundity inheritances and ultimate profundity inheritances. Ultimate profound? Ultimate profound inheritances? What is that? Everyone's face was full of suspicion. They had never heard of such things. Chapter 4367. The Epitome of the Laws. In other words, it is the predecessor of the laws. We can rely on the epitome of the laws to quickly comprehend the laws. The inheritance of the ultimate mysteries is easier to understand. As long as you integrate the inheritance, you can quickly master the ultimate mysteries and become the strongest existence in this world. Qin Feiyang explained with a smile. What? Everyone looked at each other. There was such an inheritance in the world? They had never heard of it before. We only slowly learned about these things when we came to the sky cloud realm. It's normal that you don't know. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. With a wave of his hand, an interspatial ring appeared and he handed it to Yi Zhong. What is it? Yi Zhong was a little suspicious. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "This is the epitome of the laws and the inheritance of the ultimate mysteries that I have prepared long ago." Yi Zhong was startled at once. He hurriedly returned the cosmos ring to Qin Feiyang and said while shaking his head, "You'd better keep these things for yourselves. After all, you're adventuring and will have to face many unknown powerful enemies." That's right. It's useless for you to give them to us. It's better to keep them to strengthen your own strength. Cloud Sovereign and Beast Sovereign also spoke one after another. Although they were indeed eager for these things, it was not easy for Qin Feiyang and the others to wander outside. In the past, they were very selfish. No matter what good things they had, the first thing they thought of was themselves. But now, they had changed a lot and could consider others. Indeed. Now that the ancient realm is peaceful, we don't need these things. We can slowly comprehend them ourselves. The 4 guardians said one after another. The world is peaceful, Qin Feiyang murmured. Frenzy, White-Eyed Wolf, Shuo Xiaoxian, Fire Dance, Li Feng, and Mu Qing also lowered their heads. There was a touch of melancholy between their brows. What's wrong? Are we wrong? The 4 guardians looked at them suspiciously. Yes. Of course. The ancient realm is indeed peaceful now. Qin Feiyang smiled, but then he changed the topic and sighed, but for the peace of the ancient realm, the sky cloud realm also sacrificed a lot. What does the peace of the ancient realm have to do with the sky cloud realm? Someone was puzzled. These 2 places didn't seem to be related at all. Of course, it has a relationship. Back then, if it wasn't for the Sky Cloud Realm's Blood Demon King leading the entire Blood Demon clan to the Underworld King's Hell, not just the Ancient Realm, but even Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent would have been destroyed. As such, no matter if it's the current Ancient Realm, Great Qin, or the Forgotten Continent, they all need to be able to protect themselves. Better to be safe than sorry. Qin Feiyang smiled. Qin Xian asked puzzledly, Big Brother, why do the inheritance of the Supreme Law's ultimate profound meaning have to be calculated in terms of portions? This involves the will of the heavenly Tao. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at the white-eyed wolf. The will of the heavenly Tao? Everyone looked at each other and looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf grinned and waved his hand. 6 Supreme Law's ultimate profound meanings instantly appeared in the sky. Damn! Destruction Law, Space-Time Law, Time Law, Life Law, Death Law, Cause and Effect Law. Brother Wolf, you also grasped so many Supreme Law's ultimate profound meanings? Wang Daoyuan and the others looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Calm down, calm down. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. He had a smug look on his face. These are the ordinary ultimate profound meanings. But if the will of the heavenly Tao is activated, these 6 ultimate profound meanings will be even stronger. Qin Feiyang nodded at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf's mind moved and the will of the heavenly Tao was activated. The aura of the 6 ultimate profound meanings rose crazily. The entire Nine-Heaven Palace was trembling, shocking countless people. No. It wasn't just the Nine-Heaven Palace. The entire northern region was shaking. It was as if doomsday had arrived. This, Yi Zhong and the others were dumbfounded. This ancient world is so weak. It can't even withstand this bit of aura. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. With a wave of his hand, the 6 ultimate profound meanings dissipated. If this continued, the Nine-Heaven Palace would definitely collapse. The northern region would also fall into a calamity. Yi Zhong and the others came back to their senses and realized that they were already drenched in cold sweat. The white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimate profound meanings and the will of the heavenly Tao haven't fully erupted yet. Otherwise, it would be even more terrifying. It can be said that right now, with his power alone, he can directly destroy the entire ancient realm. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Not fully erupted yet? Everyone looked at each other with shock in their hearts. Just how terrifying were the ultimate profound meanings and the will of the heavenly Tao? Ultimate profound meanings with and without the will of the heavenly Tao belong to 2 completely different levels. And to grasp the will of the heavenly Tao, the necessary condition is to grasp the 6 ultimate profound meanings. At this point, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Qin Li and said with a smile, therefore, we usually combine the 6 different ultimate profundities of ultimate laws into one. Qin Li pondered for a while and said, you mean, as long as we integrate this inheritance, we can grasp the will of the heavenly Tao? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and then said, of course, there are also dual wills of the heavenly Tao in this world. The middle-aged fatso landed in front of everyone and bowed. What are you doing here? Miss Tian Xian looked at him suspiciously. The middle-aged fatso said respectfully, Hall Master Shengguan sent me a message during the day and asked me to prepare a few tables of banquet to entertain distinguished guests at night, so I'm here to deliver wine and dishes. While speaking, he glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, his eyes full of awe. As expected, he was here to entertain these important figures. I see. Miss Tian Xian smiled in realization. At the same time, Shengguan Fenglan had already taken out a few large dining tables, which seemed to have been prepared in advance. She looked at the middle-aged fatso and said with a smile, "Put it on the table." "Okay." The middle-aged fatso walked over, took out a universe ring, and took out the dishes one by one. These dishes were placed independently in wooden boxes, and in the wooden boxes, there was a kind of crystal that could emit heat, which could ensure that the dishes were hot at all times. It could be seen that they were very attentive. Of course. This was Shengguan Fenglan's instruction, so he didn't dare to be careless. After all, Shengguan Fenglan's status was here, and she was like a sister to Miss Tian Xian. In the end, several tables were filled with dishes, each dish was extremely exquisite, and the aroma made one's appetite soar. "Come, come, come, everyone gather around. It just so happens that Brother Wolf gave me a lot of divine wine, everyone come and have a taste." Hua Yi called out. Thus, a joyous banquet began. Hua Yi, White-Eyed Wolf, Lunatic, all of them were jars after jars. If it were any other time, Shengguan Fenglan would have already flipped out, but today, she didn't care. Because she knew that Hua Yi was really happy today. However, Yi Xiaochuan received a lot of scolding. Every time he wanted to drink, he would definitely get a knock on his head. According to Shengguan Fenglan's intention, when you get married and start a family, I don't care how much you drink, but now, you have to obey my discipline. Old friends reunited, and Qin Feiyang also drank to his heart's content. Laughter could be heard from time to time. For the entire night, not a single person left the venue. Time passed very quickly. The sky began to gradually turn white. Although they drank a lot, no one was drunk. Qin Feiyang looked at the sky, put down his wine cup, and said with a smile, "Let's stop here, we still have to return to the Great Qin." Return to the Great Qin? Hua Yi was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why are you in such a hurry to go back?" Qin Feiyang turned to look at Lunatic and asked, "Senior brother, didn't you tell them?" "No. I don't want to dampen everyone's spirits." Lunatic shook his head. "What's the situation?" Other than Yizhong, everyone else had a suspicious look on their faces. Because only Yizhong knew that Qin Feiyang and the others only had 3 days. "We can only stay for 3 days this time. A day has already passed. For the remaining 2 days, I want to go back and spend some time with my family." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. 3 days? That's too short. Young master, no matter how busy you are, you don't have to be in such a hurry. Everyone frowned and tried their best to persuade him to stay. They have their own difficulties. Moreover, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Yizhong stood up and looked at everyone with a smile. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang, Lunatic, White-Eyed Wolf, and the others and said with a smile, "Have a good time outside. Don't worry about us." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. The sudden parting made everyone feel very uncomfortable. Especially Shengguan Qiu and Wang Yuer. Before they could say a few words, they were going to be separated again. "Don't be like this. As Master said, there will be plenty of time in the future." Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Wang Daoyuan and the others, saying, "You are all people I brought out. You must bear the responsibility of protecting the ancient world and the people." "We will." The group of people nodded heavily. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly and looked at them one by one. Finally, his gaze landed on Shengguan Qiu and Wang Yuer, and he said with a smile, "Take care. You too." The two of them muttered. Their voices were so weak that even they could not hear themselves. They were already trying hard to control their emotions. Otherwise, they would have cried long ago. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed inwardly. He could only apologize to the two women in front of him in his heart. He turned to look at Qin Li and the others and said, "Come back to the Great Qin with me." After saying that, he turned around resolutely, opened a space-time passage, and walked in without looking back. Because if this continued, he was afraid that he would not be willing to leave. Lunatic, Lin Yi, Li Feng, Mu Qing, White-Eyed Wolf, and Fire Dance nodded to everyone and turned to leave. Qin Li and the others looked at each other with a trace of suspicion on their faces. Why did he want them to go back to the Great Qin? Could it be that Big Brother was reluctant to part with them and wanted them to accompany him more? Old Master, Qin Li turned to look at Yizhong. Go. Yizhong smiled. We will come back as soon as possible. Qin Li bowed and said, then led Qin Yun and the others into the space-time passage. Looking at the gradually dissipating space-time passage, everyone was silent for a long time. Whether it was their eyes or their faces, there was a strong reluctance. The tears in Sheng Guanqiu's eyes finally flowed down uncontrollably. Chapter 43-69. Death Impasse. In front of the entrance to the divine site, Qin Feiyang stood in the void, turning his head and looking in the direction of the Ninth Heaven Palace. His expression was extremely gloomy. What's wrong? Lin Yi asked. Sigh. Parting is really a painful thing. Qin Feiyang sighed. Lin Yi was silent. Indeed. No one in the world is willing to be separated from their loved ones. Especially for people like Qin Feiyang who particularly values family, parting is a kind of torture. The madman patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and comforted, you have to think about it this way. Our departure is also to protect them and let them live a better life than before. I can only comfort myself like this. Qin Feiyang shook his head with a wry smile, turned around, and stepped into the stone door. Although this day was short, it left him with beautiful memories. This will become the motivation for him to continue on. Great Qin. Demon Dragon Island. The waves rolled, and the sea breeze swept in all directions. Sea beasts roared among the giant wolves. Although they weren't strong, for the people of Great Qin, this was a forbidden area that couldn't be set foot. At the center of the island. After so many years, Qin Feiyang's stone statue still stood majestically, guarding this land. Swish! Suddenly. In the void above. Figures appeared out of thin air one after another. The person in the lead was Qin Feiyang. Fire Python was also beside him. Whether it was going to the ancient world or coming to Great Qin, it was much more convenient with Fire Python's help. Seeing this familiar homeland again, Qin Feiyang's yearning for his family became even stronger. This is Great Qin. Zhuo Xiaoxian, Fire Dance, Li Feng, and the others looked around curiously. Such an ordinary place could actually give birth to Qin Feiyang, Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, Demon Ancestor, Dong Zhengyang, and Lin Yi, these monsters? It's really emotional. Fire Python smiled and said, Brother Qin, I will send you here. Don't you want to go to the imperial capital together? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. I won't go. Moreover, the dragon god is in the underworld king's hell. I don't dare to stay for too long in case he blames me. The Fire Python smiled. All right. Thank you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. There's no need for thanks between brothers. The Fire Python rolled its eyes at him and plunged into the sea below without looking back. This was because the altar leading to the miracle was at the bottom of the sea. After watching the Fire Python leave, Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Mu Tianyang, the demon ancestor, Dong Zhengyang, the mermaid princess, the mermaid emperor, the black-winged emperor, the white-winged emperor, Wang Xiaojie, Qin Chen, Xia Yuan, and the other 64 godly generals appeared. After all, they were all people from Great Qin. They had been looking forward to this day for a long time. I'm back. Dong Zhengyang muttered. Yes. Hearing this, Mermaid Princess and Fire Dance couldn't help but cover their mouths and laugh. Xiaofan lowered her head shyly. Lunatic couldn't help but roll his eyes. He looked at White-Eyed Wolf and said, "We don't know if you and Fire Dance are married or not. Don't get pregnant before marriage." Hearing this, Fire Dance's face couldn't help but twitch. He really dared to say anything. "Greetings, Uncle Yuan." Lunatic bowed to Uncle Yuan and said with a smile, "I've often heard them talk about you. I've long wanted to come and see you. Now that I see you, I feel very close. You're quite sweet." Qin Yuan chuckled and looked at Lunatic and Xiaofan, saying, "Welcome to Great Qin. We're a small place here, don't mind." His face was full of affection. Lunatic and Xiaofan immediately felt a sense of warmth, as if he was their own grandfather. "What are you saying? It's the same no matter where it is. Besides, I'm brothers with Old Qin and Brother Wolf. Their hometown is also my hometown." Lunatic waved his hand. Hearing this, Qin Yuan's face was full of smiles. He looked at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf and said with a smile, "You've made a good friend. Isn't this what you always taught us? It's not about the number of friends, it's about the understanding." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes. It's useless no matter how many friends you have. In one's life, it's enough to have a few true friends." Qin Yuan nodded. "Don't worry about that. Little Lunatic is definitely a true friend. Even if you ask him to die, he won't bat an eye." White-Eyed Wolf chuckled. "Why don't you die?" Lunatic's face was dark. This bastard was really not a good person. Uncle Yuan looked at this scene, and his smile became even brighter. Suddenly, he patted his head and looked at them. "Look at my brain, the older I get, the less bright I get. It's not easy for you to come back, how can you keep chatting with an old man like me? Hurry up and go to the imperial capital to see your family. You're also our family. Come with us, I have a lot of things to say to you." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Okay." Qin Yuan nodded. "Uncle Yuan, you're indeed a little biased. We've been standing here for so long, but you didn't say a word to us. You only have Big Brother in your eyes." Qin Yi said with some jealousy. "Huh?" Qin Yuan was slightly stunned. Looking at Qin Li and the others, he shook his head and smiled, Sorry, I was too excited." Don't blame Uncle Yuan, he definitely didn't mean to be biased. "No. Don't pay attention to this kid. He likes to make his presence known." Qin Li said. "I didn't." Qin Yi quickly denied. "What kind of person are you, don't we know?" Qin Li despised. "Huh," Qin Yi laughed dryly. Qin Feiyang also looked at Qin Yi with a strange expression. "You kid also learned how to compete for favor?" Cough cough, Qin Yi coughed dryly, looking quite embarrassed.